Hello, dear friends. My name is Sofia Dorinskaya, President of the International Bureau for Human Rights in Mental Health and head of the Sofia Dorinskaya Center for Medical Information. Today, I will tell you what your psychiatrists don't tell you when they prescribe psychoactive substances. And today, I will tell you what you will face when you want to stop using psychoactive substances. To begin with, I want to say that drugs, as a phenomenon, are actually familiar to the human body. The body really does produce its own drugs in very small amounts. They are called endorphins. For example, they are produced when you eat, and that feeling of peace, relaxation, a bit of drowsiness, and a good mood, that's endorphins at work. This is a natural mechanism that the body has, and biologically active substances are really involved there. These very drugs that are produced by the body itself. That's why when you come to a psychiatrist with certain problems, and the psychiatrist prescribes synthetic drugs for you, and all psychoactive substances are drugs, I'll say it again. Any psychoactive substance that is created and intended to change a person's mental state is, by the very nature of its action, a drug. And it doesn't matter where you got it, from a street corner or from a pharmacy with a doctor's prescription. Changing where you get it doesn't change the nature of the substance. So when you start taking this substance, it becomes part of your metabolism. The body accepts it and adjusts its biochemistry to this externally introduced poison. You need to understand that for the body, psychoactive substances are considered poisons from the outside. And, well, for example, yes, the body is supposed to produce adrenaline in certain dangerous situations. And in such a situation, yes, if someone attacks you, during danger a person releases adrenaline, the so-called fight or flight response. And when this adrenaline release system is working in a person, if the person is strong, they can, so to speak, fight back with adrenaline. And if they realize they can't fight back, they run away. And adrenaline is the substance involved in this. And now look, when drugs become part of metabolic processes, for example, this adrenaline system gets destroyed. And when a person is in danger, adrenaline is not produced in the necessary amount, or its production is somehow blocked, and the person apathetically goes through their stressful situations like this. Actually, it is believed that the person has been helped. They have stressful situations, adrenaline is no longer produced, and that's it, sort of, yes. Now, for example, a person decides to stop using psychoactive substances, and they refuse them. After some time, the body activates, that is, the adrenaline system, but you perfectly understand that the body starts to activate it. Yes. It's already uneven, because this mechanism, which the body had worked out, is now broken, and the body now needs to somehow readjust it in a new way. And naturally, it readjusts it in leaps. For example, you're standing in a store, buying bread. You're surrounded by loaves of bread, and the only person interacting with you is the saleswoman. And suddenly, you have a sharp rush of adrenaline. Your heart is pounding. Out of nowhere, you suddenly feel some aggression. You break out in a cold sweat. Your legs give way. There's terrible panic. But nothing is actually happening. On the outside, there's no reason at all for you to have this reaction. But one simple thing is happening. Basically, your body has woken up. This situation is a bit similar to the time when a person goes through puberty, when their hormonal system, specifically the sex hormones, is being adjusted. And if you remember your own experience, or if you have children, you can observe it. During this period, there is something similar. Some hormone surges, some panic attacks. Suddenly, a person becomes tearful for no reason, or suddenly they become aggressive, and no one understands at all what's happening. And even the person themselves doesn't understand what's happening to them. And, to be honest, not very smart parents start taking their children to a psychiatrist at this point, and psychiatrists suppress these reactions with their pills. People with, let's say, a stronger nervous system understand that you just need to wait. You need to give the body time to adjust this system. You have to understand that, for example, when you learn to drive a car, you don't just get in and start driving right away. How many bumpers will you break? How many clutches will you burn out? How many nerves will you take from your poor, gray-haired instructor? And so on and so on. Are you also learning to control this machine? When a person goes through puberty and the body starts adjusting the hormonal system, there are also some strange reactions. Let's resume stopping the medication. What psychiatrists don't tell you is about the reactions you might have as a result of stopping these substances. Since psychoactive substances destroy the regulatory system, the nervous regulatory system of the body, they destroy the neurotransmitter system, which is the substances that transmit nerve impulses, and they severely damage the endocrine system because this system is directly connected to neuroregulation. And when you start to give up psychoactive substances, after a while, this system in the body turns back on, and very unpleasant reactions begin, especially if you do, and it's very distressing. The first thing is but if you are an impatient person who can't pull yourself together, brace yourself and say, I will get through this period. On top of that, there's also what's called withdrawal from these synthetic drugs. It can show up as aching muscles, terrible side effects. This is withdrawal. There's sleep disturbance, which alone can drive a person crazy. Very unpleasant gastrointestinal symptoms, meaning it could be diarrhea, constipation, vomiting, belching, indigestion, anything like that. These are the reactions you can expect, and you need to understand that if you agree to take this psychoactive pill, which relieves this effect for you, for some reason, due to an initially unbalanced endocrine system, when you want to stop taking the psychoactive pill, because you do need to stop taking it, well, the most objective reason is that neurotropic poisons lead to dementia. Neurotropic poisons lead to impotence. Neurotropic poisons lead to apathy. Neurotropic poisons lead to memory loss and loss of work capacity. That means your life gradually starts to fall apart. So, if you can't tolerate the initial reactions of your systems being unbalanced when you take a psychoactive pill, then when you want to quit it, the symptoms will be dozens, if not hundreds of times stronger. And you will need much more strength personally. Or, if you are parents, you will need much more strength to endure your child's insomnia, to endure sudden aggression, which after psychoactive substances may not be restrained at all. If before a person used psychoactive substances and had aggression, they could somehow restrain themselves from truly catastrophic actions. Murder. Statistics show that after using psychoactive substances, people may kill either themselves or others, and so on. So, statistics show that after using psychoactive substances, some fundamental human instincts are destroyed. How can we help you? This is how we actually help people who want to get off psychoactive substances. First of all psychoactive substances destroy vitamins, minerals, and trace elements in the body. That's their very nature, their effect. I'll tell you even more. There are so-called psychiatrists, and they call some people therapy resistant, and usually those people are sent for electroshock therapy. So when you start looking into the history of these people who are resistant to psychoactive substances, you find severe vitamin and mineral imbalances. For example, for several years, someone might have been self-medicating with strong diuretics. These are very powerful water pills, including even furosemide. Furosemide is a very serious diuretic that's used in intensive care settings. You need to monitor the mineral levels in your blood. It's only given with saline, but that's not the point. So, that's how it is. A person wanting to get rid of some swelling, or to lose weight, and so on, for self-medication, was taking these diuretics for several years. As a result, he ended up experiencing hallucinatory symptoms, because that's a sign of a disrupted vitamin and mineral balance. That is, the person simply washed out all the minerals from their body, along with the related vitamins. He began experiencing hallucinations and sleep problems, was hospitalized in a psychiatric facility, and started medication, psychoactive substances that only work if a person has at least a more or less normal level of vitamins and minerals. Naturally, these psychoactive substances don't work on this person the way they're expected to. As a result, the person was given electroshock therapy. That's fate, as they say. So, what am I getting at? What are we doing? How are we helping? For people who want to quit psychoactive substances, the first thing we help you with is replenishing deficiencies in vitamins, minerals, and micronutrients. Because if you just start like you just quit, or if someone tries to quit gradually, following a reduction plan, they're still doing it with existing deficiencies. These withdrawal reactions, as I mentioned, withdrawal reactions involve the activation of endocrine systems and so on, and endocrine systems are so unpredictable. The pain is so severe, the pain is so intense that some people just can't bear it. And it's much, let's say, easier to endure. When you've replenished your vitamin deficiencies, vitamins, minerals, and trace elements, and then, little by little, based on the reports, when you do something yourself, we look at the levels of vitamins, minerals, and trace elements. But I can tell you, you will need a lot of courage, both you and your relatives. Of course, if you have relatives who support you, you're lucky. But if you're surrounded by relatives who absolutely refuse to tolerate it, none of your outbursts of anger, none of your tantrums, none of your sleepless nights, none of your hurtful words that happen, well, what can I say? That's life. And oh, ho, ho, and we urgently put our relative in a mental hospital, then of course it's even more complicated here. And the last thing I would like to say, of course, when the situation has already reached the point where it is now, we have to deal with the circumstances as they are. But honestly, I want to address everyone who hasn't yet gone to psychiatrists, who is still thinking, to the parents who are being told that their child is somehow different, and they really should go see psychiatrists. You should come to us and take your tests for deficiencies, because if you rewind the situation, psychopathology, mental manifestations, psychiatric symptoms, they're actually all rooted in severe deficiencies of vitamins, minerals, and trace elements. Sometimes these deficiencies are passed from mother to child. We already have such cases. We have families, parents with children going through this. And we can trace that. For example, the mother has a mineral deficiency, and the child has the same mineral deficiency. And this mineral deficiency is more pronounced in the child, and the child has already been taking antipsychotics for several years. But in reality, it's a mineral deficiency. And now we are helping these people. All of this is initially based on disorders, on deficiency-related disorders. The first thing a person experiences is emotional suffering when something is wrong with their body. And when you go to the doctors, they can't find anything, but you already feel bad. So when you already feel bad, it means there's a warning sign. You have a deficiency condition. But again, the truth is that you can't fix this just with diet or by following someone's advice about taking a vitamin. Because, I'll say it again, the system is a complex system. If you've seen the movie with Anthony Hopkins, where he killed his wife, but he was building airplanes, he built these big, interesting systems. Balls were rolling around. I think the movie is called Fracture. There were balls rolling around, and those balls moved along a very precise path. Take a look. I think it's right there in the very first scenes. So actually, the system of vitamins, minerals, and micronutrients is very precise, but it's complex. And when some kind of deficiency develops, it immediately causes effects. Just like in that diagram where the balls are rolling, it immediately causes effects. There are changes here, changes there, changes over there, and changes everywhere. And then some third symptom appears on the surface. But you need to have a very clear understanding of this system in order to dig it up and find out what the essence is, what everything is based on. I hope I helped you today with this video. I know there were a lot of words, but I tried to outline this scheme for you. And its essence is very simple. You feel bad at first because there are deficiencies. When you feel bad, you feed yourself with psychoactive substances that simply cut off and destroy nerve impulses, and you kind of feel good. But these psychoactive substances lead you, both as a person and as a body, to degradation. You still feel it after some time, and you want to give them up. You don't just return to your original deficiencies. These deficiencies become increased by dozens, even hundreds of times. And believe me, you will need much more strength, money, and determination, not just yours, but also from those around you. You will have to adjust your work. So, you will have to make much more effort to get rid of these pills that don't solve anything at all. They will be there. They don't solve anything in a person's life. Drugs are always emergency help. Right now, it hurts. Right now, it's some kind of shock state. It's instant, and it's so limited that if a person can't tolerate pain at all, it will make them an addict. This isn't secret information. People come out of intensive care. People who can no longer tolerate pain have become addicts. So, drugs are just a very short period. You can't use psychoactive substances and stay healthy. And if you're still thinking about whether to go to a psychiatrist or not, the first thing you need to do is find out what deficiencies you have, and also find out what deficiencies your child has. If your child is autistic, then a psychoactive poison won't make them smart, healthy, or free. Any psychoactive poison will only harm them. Because drugs are never the solution. And if you ever decide to quit drugs, you need to gather a huge amount of strength. Spiritual strength, you must. You really need to have a deep understanding, a serious understanding of what is happening to your body right now. You need to have very strong nerves so you don't get scared by these bouts of fear. So I want to tell you, everything is much easier to solve if you don't go to a psychiatrist, but instead find out what is causing your unpleasant emotional state. You solve this problem, and your life gets better. This was Sofia Dorinskaya with you. All the best. Goodbye.